另外咧就係話譬如話我嘅 EOI 分數唔夠高啦，即係頭先講嘅100要好高分，我又唔係啲中長嘅，我只係可能做啲商科嘅工作，即係好似 marketing 啊咁樣，咁點算咧？即係可能我都係啱啱夠60幾分咁樣，即係可能都要英文都要夾硬嚟，要考到個全6先至啱啱夠合格咁樣，咁我可以有啲咩 option 咧？咁就係而家要同大家介紹嘅 MINT program 啦，因為 MINT program 咧就係一個唔需要好高分，又唔需要即係一個即係好勁嘅職業嘅職業先可以申請到咯。咁而我哋就想Maggie 即係我哋公司嘅註冊移民代理去為大家介紹一個只係投資51.5萬嘅澳幣咧，咁你就可以 guarantee 有 PR 有190 visa 就可以直接全家直接可以拎到 PR 嘅一個 program 咯。
Thank you, Kiki. Sorry, I'll just speak English. If you have any questions that you don't understand, you can ask me in the chat box or ask Kiki for further clarification. So basically, Kiki has introduced, I guess, a basic framework of the skill visa, and also, what sort of people are eligible for those kind of visas. I think this year is a good year for certain occupations like nurses, engineers. In the recent invitations, a lot of engineers from overseas are actually getting the permanent resident visa invitation. So if you are an engineer, then that's something you might consider. So I'm going to introduce you some more expensive options, but it suits someone who probably would not qualify for the independent one, or found very competitive for the other state nominations, or does not have the time or does not want to spend the effort to go through the Hong Kong stream. So MINT program is a semi-investment and a semi-skill visa. So basically you invest the money in exchange for a skill visa. So the requirement for an applicant is still same as what Kiki just discussed. The EOI points, the skill assessment, you still need to have an occupation that on the list. So if you, for example, if you are a HR advisor, this occupation is for 491 only. Then unfortunately, even if you want to go for MINT, you are only eligible for 491. So we generally recommend those who has an occupation and can get skill assessment on the short-term list, which is on the 190 list. So for the MINT program, it's not ranked by points. So all you need is to meet the minimum points, which is 65. That includes your age, your qualification, work experience, a partner. It also requires an investment of 515 Australian dollars. I think Australian dollars is pretty low at the moment. So it's a good time to do the investment compared to with 6 months ago. As a result, you will be granted the 190 visa, which is a permanent resident. A lot of occupations or a lot of clients who applies for MINT are occupations like a project administrator, contract administrator, marketing specialist. Generally speaking, for those occupations from offshore, I think they are more likely to get 491, which is the regional temporary visa. So which means if you get a visa, you and your family has to move to regional Australia and live for 3 years minimum and earn the money to get PR. But for the MINT program, as long as you meet the requirement, you will be granted a permanent resident straight away. And I think once you get a permanent resident, after living here for 4 years, you can get an Australian passport. Next slide, please. All right, so MINT program is designated to Northern Territory only. So it is a program that's supported by Northern Territory government. So among that 515,000 investment, 80% will go to the government bond. So it's a guaranteed, term deposit. You can consider that. The other 20% will go to startup companies in Northern Territory. So it is a program to boost the economy in the territory. Some of the key benefits. So this is the same as any other skilled visa or any other visa in Australia. You can bring your family. That means your spouse or your partner and your kids. You can sponsor your parents once you get the permanent resident here. You will have a stable investment return. Australia Reserve Bank has raised interest a few times. So at the moment, the government bond is at a 3% return. This time last year, it was only 1%. The turnaround time is about 6 to 12 months. I think we will talk about the key points on the next slides. So as a permanent resident, so as soon as you are granted the visa, if you buy a property here, you are eligible to apply for the first home grant, which is about $15,000 in some states. You also get a reduced stamp duty comparing to someone holding, let's say, student visa or someone holding a 491. Because Australia allows dual citizenship, so like I said, after 4 years living in Australia, you can apply for citizenship in Australia and have both Hong Kong and Australian passport. I think one of the other things that most people didn't realize is that once you have a permanent resident, residency in Australia, if you prefer to live in New Zealand, it is very easy to get New Zealand permanent resident. So nomination requirement for the MINT program, you have to be under 45 years of age. Unfortunately, that's the cutoff for skilled visa. So if you are over this age, then your only option would probably going to be the study and Hong Kong stream or the investment visa. You do need to have a skilled occupation, like I said, on the list. You do need to have competent English, which is IELTS 6 in each band, or you can do alternative English tests. The fourth requirement is very crucial, important. You cannot live in Australia, especially on a student visa, for the last 5 years. So if you are currently studying in Australia on a student visa, or you did your study like 2 years ago, then you are not eligible for the normal MINT program. The investment is required to be in a designated fund for 5 years. So unless your visa is refused, you can withdraw early. Otherwise, as long as you can get a visa, the fund has to be there for minimum 5 years. You are committed to living NT for 2 years. This is the ideal, but like I said, this is a permanent resident visa. So the visa itself does not have any conditions. And you also need to have an EOI 65 points, but you only need that point, so you don't need more than 65. That 65 includes the state nomination points. So if we look at your profiles, we were only looking at 60 points. So that's the MINT application process. Slightly complicated than the normal skilled visa, I guess. So before we can start everything, you have to have a skill assessment. Without a skill assessment and your English result, there's no way you can enter the program. So once you are ready, the skill assessment and English ready, and we assess you have enough points, we can apply for a place in the MINT program. So as soon as you apply for a place, it's guaranteed that place belongs to you. So you don't really need to rush, to compete for the 50th place later on. But you can only apply for the place once you have the skill assessment and English. So after you get a place, you apply for state nomination. The state government will review all your documents. If they are happy with your application, they will give you a provisional approval. So basically they said, this person is qualified for state nomination and 190 visa. We just need this person to put in the investment. So after receiving the provisional approval, you will transfer the investment into Pass Palace, which is a fund management company. They will also go through the anti-money laundering check, just like all kinds of investment in Australia. So after you make the investment, you will receive a full visa invitation. So it will be an email from Home Affairs saying that you have been invited to apply for the permanent resident visa. So after lodging the visa, at the moment, I think for all the Hong Kong clients, their applications are a lot quicker than anyone else in the world. So Hong Kong passport holders are getting prioritized. So the whole process, as long as you get a skill assessment, we estimate you will get your permanent resident in 6 to 12 months time.